If I turn the microphone on now, like I've got to turn the music off because I'm talking over it. We're not started yet. We're going to start in a minute, but
this isn't us.
We're not started because people are still coming in from whatever they're doing, watching Neighbours. That's what's on, isn't it? So here is Paul Wellens talking to me earlier about something to do with rugby league. When you played in these big games or the week before the big games, how did you yourself focus on the task at hand rather than thinking this time next week we'll be at Wembley or Old Trafford or wherever?
Yeah, I think you've got to play the game. You know, I'm sure you can't get caught up in what is coming down the track. You know, rugby league's a tough game anyway, and you've got to turn up and you've got to want to play tough. That's exactly what we're going to get from Hull KR on Friday night. That's not lost on us. The fact that they've got an important final the weekend after is obviously there, but I don't think it will have too much effect on the quality that we see from Hull KR on Friday.
What have you noticed about Hull KR, the way they've built season on season? Obviously, grand finalists last year, a couple of Challenge Cup finals a year ago, and now back there again this year.
Yeah, you have to give them huge credit as a club because they've grown not only on the field but off the field as well, and building something. And so you have to commend them as a club, and obviously the supporters are right behind what they're doing now, and there's a lot of excitement around what they're doing. So they have to be commended there, and for us, it's about going there and obviously getting a performance because we know we're coming up against a really strong team.
Obviously, back-to-back wins. How much did you enjoy, not the victory necessarily, but the after in the game against Huddersfield, where you introduced Lewis Murphy's partner into the change room? Everyone seemed to love that, especially the rest of his teammates.
Yeah, it was excellent. Obviously, being a rugby league player is a really privileged position, but sometimes within that, players make huge sacrifices, and Murph's been living away from his partner now for a good few months, so it was wonderful that we could play our part in surprising him in that way, and the reaction of Murph's teammates, I think, says everything about what they think of him, how pleased they were for him, and it was great that we could play a small part in in that little bit of a story though.
Oh, we're on. Right, we're here. Right, we're going to read on. Welcome to the programme. It's 4020 Live. Oh, it's a cat now. It is Wednesday, the
Wednesday? Are you sure
28th of May. I have no idea.
No, I'm confused.
It was bad enough it was a bank holiday on Monday, wasn't it? And there was no rugby on again. And then we didn't do Tuesday. And now it's Wednesday and we're here to talk about all the things that have happened a week ago. Not really.
Which nobody really wants to hear about.
No, because it was...
Do they want to hear about State of Origin?
Should we just finish now and go, nothing happened? Welcome to all our loyal listeners. Abigail's not here because she's training, but she said, make sure we say nice things about Rochdale, which we will. And
Rochdale women?
Well, I don't know what they did this week. But also Saddleworth Rangers girls because she's training. So...
Hello, Abigail.
Maybe she's in Rudge mode, I don't know. She's the only person who likes us, I think.
She's preparing for her debut at Wembley.
Yes, she's walking, she doesn't know who she's walking out with yet, so that's going to be the most exciting thing, I think, about Wembley.
Will you interview her?
We should do, shouldn't we?
We should.
We should do. We should get her on. She come on. Well, a few people who will. But yes, we are live. It's Wednesday. The Rugby League weekend has been and gone. The news is... Well, the thing is, we can't even talk about Salford because they might pay their players on time. Is that like last month? Remember when Jenna came on in that bit where she does the news? Said,
Big news.
Great news. Salford paid their players. Woo!
Minimum requirement, you would have thought.
Yeah. If you were the owners, you know, the new owners that we're supposed to hate, because obviously, unlike the previous owners...
Are they the ones that wear flat caps, or...?
I don't know. The ones who've got Robbie Paul as their advisor.
Pie buyer.
We're supposed to hate them because they've not put any money into the club.
Right.
But if you were buying Salford, why would you buy them now when they're millions of pounds in debt and they owe everyone? Why would you just wait them, go into administration, buy for £1 like Ken Bates would do? But there's nothing else to say about Salford until tomorrow. So listen to somebody else's podcast then.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed everything. It's going to drag on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And then they play Wigan on Friday. So.
Which, bearing in mind they're thraping at Wakefield, probably a game they don't want at the moment.
No. Oh, well. What else is... Oh, you went to the Australian High Commission.
I did. Yes.
What happened?
Nothing. No, that would be unfair. It was a fantastic location. All the marble shipped in from Australia. Wow. It was a really good networking event in that there were a lot of people there that have been involved in rugby league in London and the South, but as individual satellites. That the great thing was to have them all in the room and hopefully imbued by what the future may hold under an umbrella organisation. And there's some really good people that have put boots on the ground down there that don't get the recognition they deserve. So it was good that they were included and were there. But for anybody who wanted a news headline...
There's no news.
Not a lot.
I forgot to mention...
But the Lamington was nice.
The Lamington was nice. I understand
and the Anzac biscuit.
John Davison didn't get a Lamington, so that was...
Oh, well, I only had one, so I don't know how we missed out.
Abigail is here. Training's off. Where's training off?
Oh, it's probably because it's half term. A lot of clubs don't train at half term because their kids are away.
I forgot it's half term. That's why I've been avoiding Leeds all week.
It was a good event.
It was a good event.
As an event.
What's an Anzac biscuit?
It's treacly.
Oh.
Quite highly sugared. Oaty.
Wonderful.
It was nice. Some nice words said from high commissioners and MPs, and the RFL and Rugby League commercial were there endorsing what Gary Hetherington's hoping to do, but there was no announcement of NRL involvement, conspicuous by its absence. Gary outlined a 5-year vision for the club, which, if he can pull it off, will be great, but no real detail about how he was going to pull it off. I think the most interesting line was he said he hoped London would be in Super League in 2026, which hinted more at there's going to be 14 teams in Super League rather than they're going to have enough IMG points to force their way into Super League. So I think he was peddling the line that the Super League clubs themselves want 14 teams, indicating that that's exactly what Nigel Wood's strategic review of the sport was going to propose for next season, which of course is different to what we've heard that the NRL want, which is 10.
How is the strategic review going? Do we know? Because all the big movers and shakers were there, so they must have said
except the biggest mover and shaker, who was in Uganda. Nobody was giving much away. Oh. But it's interesting that, strategic review moving down the road of no loot fixtures, 14 teams. If Salford aren't one of them because they did go into administration, which would immediately make them a Grade C club, then you're talking about 3 teams coming up from the Championship, one of which looks like it could be Toulouse, who probably will have enough points and also joint top of the league at the moment. Gary clearly thinks London are edging near enough to either get enough IMG points to see them included, because I don't think they'll do it on performance at the moment, although they have just signed an Aussie we've never heard of with a double-barrelled name.
They're everywhere.
And you would think Bradford might be the other, which some people would say there could be a vested interest there.
Well, Sport England might say that, I don't know.
But we shall see. That was we think we've a chance of being in Super League, and you sort of look at the 12.6 they've currently got as their IMG score. You assume they're going to lose some because clearly the crowds, and I think the social media interaction, because they're in the Championship, will have dropped, but their finance, they'll get some points because they now have a new owner. So we'll see. But I think as may have been put on social media, a long way for a Lamington.
An announcement
The
of an
trains ran
announcement.
on time.
Well, that's a well, they've been national. Well, they're getting nationalised, aren't they? So
Yes.
just need the water to be nationalised.
And there was a seat, which had been reserved.
Wow.
And the Wi-Fi worked for most of the way down.
Can you claim that back on expenses?
What, from myself? Yes, it goes from the left pocket to the right pocket.
So that was London, where
We need more. We need
Yeah.
more information.
yeah, it's.
Did
Did they rush the announcement then? Because we've been
No,
it was been talking about it for a
I don't
while.
think they rushed
so
it. I just think they're not at a point to
actually announcing it.
announce things that people really wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I suppose the one thing that, again, was made public, which hints at Australian investment, is that they've employed a partnership with a group called Freshwater, and it was Freshwater that managed the Dolphins into the NRL, and Freshwater that managed the Perth Bears now into the NRL. So you would think they've got some very good connections within the NRL that presumably London are hoping to tap into, but not necessarily as a takeover, but more as a partnership in talent provision and marketing. So we'll see.
Are the best team called Tigers in rugby the Albi Tigers? Because it's not Castleford and not Wests.
Absolutely.
First time in 47 years, was it, or something?
Looked like they were celebrating in a manner in which the French do. Tony Gigot in his final ever game.
I mean, some people thought he retired when he was at Wakefield a few years ago, but that's a bit harsh on Tony Gigot.
But yes, congratulations to the Albi Tigers.
Did they get entered into the World Club?
Should be in the Challenge Cup, really, shouldn't they? But those days seem to have gone.
We're on rugbyleague.com, which is a surprise to everyone. So welcome along, listener.
It's a surprise to me because I thought it was out.
I know. Have you seen the Rugby Union are inventing a World Club Championship?
No, and they're going down the road of Golden Point for the British Lions.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder where they get these ridiculous ideas from.
I mean, at least we admit we just steal it from American football and stuff. But yeah, so they're going to have a World Club thing. But it's going to replace the knockout stage of the European Cup once every 4 years, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I'd like to contribute, but can't.
As bad as ideas we come up with, at least there's some semblance of nonsense to them. Tim says, I thought you'd be sporting your Emily Rudge t-shirt for the show. I've not ordered one yet because I don't know what size to get. So, I don't know. She did ask people on her Instagram broadcast channel what kind of content they'd want from her. So I hope she got not too many.
Did you send quite a lot of detailed email?
I didn't send anything, but I don't trust the people out there because I know what the internet's like. But it's all exciting. Yeah, has anything else happened in the last week? No one's signed. People are moving on low now, but no one. No, it's not.
The State of Origin was played.
State of Origin was on this
which
morning.
Is news.
Yeah. Sky had to apologise and put a graphic up because Paul Vortin swore.
Well, is dickhead a swear word?
Well, it apparently is at 10 o'clock in the morning. But I know what Sky
have they
do
not
sometimes.
heard of Paul Vortin?
No. I can't remember the footy show. You remember the footy show? No. New South Wales won. Queensland are rubbish now, and they've gone. That's three out of three. Because there's the women tomorrow. That'd be 4 out of 4 if they win that as well.
New South Wales won more easily than even the scoreline suggested. What I would say is, as an event, the way it looked, the way it came across, fantastic. You can see why it is a major sporting event. You can also see why Rugby League done right has global cut through. As a game, not the most exciting Origin game there's ever been because it was a bit too one-sided. Queensland seemed off the pace attacking-wise. They seemed to be disjointed between the two halves and what was going on in the outside backs. New South Wales, very solid, couple of spectacular tries. Zach Lomax, who reminds me a little bit of Tommy Makinson, I don't know why, was superb and bossed it up. That Tino Famasalawi, famous Queensland name,
Superb hair.
was excellent. But other than that, there wasn't really a Queensland player who looked like getting on top of his opposite number.
So is this going to be Matt King's one and only Origin series? Because Sean Wayne's going to pick it. The future Catalan Dragons coach Sean Wayne's going to pick him for England in the autumn against the Aussies.
He seemed to do all right. He seemed to, so the
Is
second,
it a trial for the England team now? Is State of Origin?
the second game's in Perth, and there's going to have to be some big changes for Queensland to be competitive. Their big debate will be, do they stick with Daly Cherry-Evans, who's their captain, but clearly the oldest player on the field, didn't exert his influence particularly. So do they make that change? Do they put Tom Dearden in, go start a new era? But yeah, as I say, as a match, a bit meh.
Yeah.
As an event, fantastic.
Big questions for Billy Slater ahead of Origin 2 in a fortnight. But it's on the telly. It was on Sky Sports main event, which is good. It was on Five Live Sports Extra.
Yep.
I think they could have promoted it more on their website, but they didn't. And it's fascinating because the French Open tennis is on at the minute.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Okay.
Last few years it's been on either ITV4 or Eurosport, but now Eurosport doesn't exist, and ITV4 lost the rights, and it's on TNT. You wouldn't know it exists.
Well, I didn't.
No.
But then I wouldn't have been bothered if it had been played in my back garden.
It's like one of the 4 biggest tennis tournaments of the year. No one knows it's on because it's hidden behind another paywall. I know we all have to pay for Sky, so we can all watch Origin and Huddersfield versus Lee tomorrow night. But be careful what you wish for with these TV deals. Whatever happened to Ultimate Rugby? Is that still going? Is that coming?
I would hope so. Can't wait for that.
Maybe that's part of the
14-team Ultimate Rugby.
Yeah. Has anything else happened news-wise? It's been a quiet. It's a good job we didn't do Monday because we wouldn't have had Origin to talk about. Nothing happened.
No, there's been Hilda Hardy passed away, Mrs. Halifax. So every club has to have a kind of volunteer that Hilda was for Halifax. So that'll be huge miss at Halifax. That'll be a very, very difficult hole to fill. So again, our thoughts, condolences to her. No, I can't think of a lot that's happened.
To say we've got to fill till 7:20 because that's when the programme finishes.
No one's coaching Perth at the moment.
No one's coaching Catalans. Well, they are coaching Catalans. That's the other thing.
No, Steve McNamara's coaching Catalans.
It's still the coach
because it's not been announced that he isn't.
No, he's still in charge.
I thought it would have been funny on Saturday if he'd have walked out.
Just turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was at Lee, wasn't he, watching Ben?
Yeah.
On the Thursday.
He could have flown back.
Wouldn't it have been funny if he'd have just walked out ahead of the team?
Well, they've got a man of...
What are you doing here?
What we can guarantee at Catalans now is they've got a man who's got a great culture behind him, hasn't he? He's never, abused barmaids or anything. So, speaking of culture, Luke Keary. So he's been fined, which not everyone got upset about.
A lot of people were up in arms that they should be fined for having an opinion.
Well, this is the freedom of speech thing, isn't it? Forgetting that you have to...
But what he said did bring the product into disrepute.
So where's the line? That's the question.
Well, that's a different question.
That's the different question.
Because I'm not into what about
no.
But yes, there are people who've said things or done things or not been held accountable for things that you think, right, well, if you're going to set that precedent with Keary, where's all the others? Because
we're all banging on about how someone should play for England in the autumn, but then they said some, or retweeted some things they shouldn't have done. When lockdown was on, which was a strange time, we all remember it. Remember all the players slagging off the free pizzas they got? Did anyone get fined for that? TV Sam Tompkins, they get slagging off the pizzas. They get a ban from the Rugby Football League.
Just that Keary undermined his own argument by... It's nothing to do with the way he is playing at the moment. He was making a point about the competition. Trouble is, he's not talking from strength when the team he's currently playing in and the role he's currently playing in that team doesn't really give him the authority to say what he said about the state of the competition. If he was playing in the proverbial dinner jacket every week and going, I've come out of retirement and this is too easy, there's something clearly wrong here, that would have made the force of his argument slightly more powerful.
However. Kevin mentioned Jackie Edwards. I can't remember if we mentioned him last week or not. Because there's been a spate of deaths, sadly, which...
Yeah, obviously Sean's father, but a fine rugby player in his own right, who sadly had to retire at the age of 24 due to injury. But I think he's in the Warrington Hall of Fame, which, considering he's only was 24 when he finished playing, would tell you he was a great player of his era. So yes, condolences to Sean and his family.
And of course, we're coming up to the first anniversary of Rob Burrow, which is why there's the M&D stuff at Headingley on Saturday.
Yeah, film premiere tomorrow night of Kevin Sinfield's last run for Rob. He's now announced today his next one, which is all absolutely astonishing. Now Superman still exists.
And it's obviously Wembley next week. And it's 10 years since Danny Jones, because Lizzie Jones is doing Abide With Me, and I can't believe that's 10 years.
10 years.
We were in the studio across from Elland Road. That I remember that programme clearly. Very, very strange times, and time flies. It really does. That's the problem with it. Kevin says, "I didn't realise that he'd come out of retirement. That explains a lot." Yeah, it's just bad recruitment at Catalans. Him and Sam Tompkins, and no disrespect to either as players and their history. Sam Tompkins has got one knee, brought him out of retirement at the end of last season because they were desperate, and signed him up for another year.
I think that was the thing. Bringing him out of retirement for his leadership may well have been, and obviously you had Arthur Moore coming through. We now know they had GAB behind him. He can be a mentor to those players, but to sign him on for another year, again, different injury, but what you tend to find with players who are of a slightly older vintage is one knock follows another, and it takes longer to recover from. So yeah, not been the greatest bit of business by Bernard. No.
Maybe he could have been Ryan Hall, but Ryan Hall had a good couple of years at Hull Kingston Rovers as well, and not had the same...
And missed 2 years of his career when he went to the Roosters. Yeah. So he's sort of tagging that on at the end. There's no hard and fast rule other than Sam had retired and gave a very good reason for retiring, came out of retirement to do a specific job for a very good reason. So to then sort of tag on an extra year always seemed like that boat might have sailed.
Like when Dean Sampson came out of retirement that time for Cass because they'd run out of players. It's one for the old people. Tompkins could do the same job as water carrier, says Ian. Well, that's what they do, isn't it? They run on the pitch and the old Gary Mercer role, as it should be known. Kevin says, Catalans recruitment makes Warrington's look good. That's bad, lol. We're supposed to be nice about every team this week. So what I've learned is if you're nice about every team, then people compliment you on social media and say...
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah. Oh, they were really positive about
we can't tell the truth about any of the games last week.
We've got to say everyone's great. Everyone was great last week. Kevin also says, looking like Big Mal to Perth. Well, no, it's Sam Burgess and...
Willie Peters
and Brad Arthur. But if Brad Arthur leaves, it's the disaster for Leeds.
Brad Arthur said he's spoken to them.
Does he actually exist?
What he said and what they've said to him, we don't know.
Who is Perth? What is Perth? What is there anyone there? Because I know they exist now.
I've just remembered what the second thing I was told at Castleford by somebody who we both know. Okay. One of which was involving Mr. Burgess, which we'll have to wait and see. The other one was about Brad Arthur and his interview with Perth, where they'd suggested to him that he might want to be the assistant coach.
Oh.
And his reply had been 2 words, apparently.
No, thank you. So that's 3. Oh.
No, thanks.
Yeah.
So you'd think that they want maybe Meninga as a figurehead, which I understand, if you're going to sell...
Big Mal, people know him.
In a new market, and the Australian head coach rocks up and goes... But he can have a more figurehead role. I think as a coach, you would want a Brad Arthur type. From what I've seen, he can do with a team.
Is he in the Saints Hall of Fame, Mal Meninga? He must be, mustn't he? I know he was only there for about 5 minutes.
It depends how Hall of Fame's work. Yeah, he was there for one Australian off season.
Some people in some Hall of Fames.
Won 2 trophies, I think, and he was brilliant. But I'm not sure that qualifies you to be in a Hall of Fame.
As Kevin has said, and this is, I know this is things Kevin has said, but he's saying it and he makes sense. Regarding Catalans, Joel Tompkins in charge. Why not Sam? You think he would be the more coachy of the two, so to speak?
What will be interesting, because it's been heavily reported by Steve Brady, who, let's face it, is over there and knows a lot of...
His nose is to the ground, whatever that he's in French.
He knows a lot of people in the club very closely. If he's saying that they're looking at Sean Wayne, then he's not making that up.
No.
But you would think that Sean Wayne would come with Sam Tompkins, wouldn't you? That if
he's his England team manager or whatever it was.
And if somebody had said to Sam, who do you think we should get? Who do we need? You know, we've got some talented players. We've got some young players coming through. We haven't really got it all together in a unified way this year. What do we need? And Sam Tompkins has said, I would advise you to get Sean Wayne. He will give you exactly... If Sean Wayne says, I might be interested in coming, but I've waited all my life for this Ashes series. So could you put Joel in until the end of the season? I'll come over after the Ashes. Sam can come as my assistant. Joel can run the water. It's a family affair.
Just not behind the bar. It's all very... It's
you
like
could see why they would want to go down that route of trying to entice Sean Wayne over if Sam Tompkins is...
Right, well, what we should do now
going to be his lieutenant.
Because everyone's doing their here's who should be in the England team thing, which is nonsense because everyone could get injured before then. We could get picked. Who's going to be the next England coach? Steve McNamara.
No, he's already done that.
He's going to be the Leeds coach. Or any other team in Super League who needs a coach in the future.
Who do we know who might need a coach
who wears blue and yellow kind of colours
in the nearer future than perhaps the end of the season?
Blue and yellow.
I think it's Primrose.
Primrose. Myrtle and Flame. No. Steve McNamara's off. No. Sorry, Dean. I didn't mean to sack you. So who's going to be the next England coach? Because can Sean Wayne do both jobs at once? I mean, he can, obviously, because the England coach has no games until October.
The interesting thing is we haven't had a calendar, so it's been... But you will be building up to a World Cup at the end of 2026. Oh, yeah. You would hope that would be a full-time position. You would hope that there might be a mid-season international next year, because I think we're going to need it.
Against France.
I'm not bothered who. Mind you, if he's already in France, that could be perfect.
Well, here's the thing.
Come and play in Perpignan, because I'm already here.
See, what I don't understand about the... England and France lack of match. Cricket last week, the test series, the test summer has started. England played Zimbabwe in a completely pointless match that England won, I think, in 3 days by an innings or whatever, because Zimbabwe are no good, and England, they're all right.
But can't be expected to be on the same.
But they played each other in a test match and everything.
I bet they sold out every day.
No, but they sold lots of tickets. And it was at Trembridge or something.
Was it?
But yeah, so, yes, was it at Lords? Because usually the tourists always play at Lords, don't they? Because London gets 3 tests compared to everyone else who gets 9. But England played Zimbabwe in the cricket and they just got on with it and played them.
Yeah.
So why can't England play France in rugby? I know rugby slightly more physical, but fast bowlers, they do a lot of work.
I just think as well that if you play those games in France, it's a very, very different dynamic. But we shall see. Sean Wayne being heavily linked with the Catalan job that Steve McNamara still has officially.
Are the lawyers all on holiday in France or something? Are they on strike? Because that's what the French do. I understand we can still be... We're allowed to be offensive about the French because that's allowed.
Presumably...
Brexit means we're allowed to be.
Because he has been released from his contract a year and a half before it was due to expire. There is some compensation due. They're probably deciding on whether that mutually agreed phrase has got to be in the press release.
How many sausages does he get from Bernard? Does he do sausage?
I think he's opened a new €12 million factory in Perpignan. He's the toast of the town, is Bernard.
That's where all the knackered rugby league players go. 25 minutes in, says Ian, and neither of you have lifted James back onto his chase hiding. So,
Wednesday wasn't good for him.
Did referees do anything wrong this weekend? Because they probably did, but we can't remember. Also, great thing, didn't the video referee fail to work at Castleford? So Liam Rush had to do it by looking at the big screen.
There were 2 things that were bizarre about that, and again, this is nothing to do with the game, which I'm sure we'll come back to. First of all, they've erected a new video screen at Castleford.
Yeah, right, that's good.
That nobody in the media can see.
Right, that's good.
So it's over the far side of the railway end, but because the roof comes down, the media cannot see anything on the big screen.
Because they've only just cleaned those windows so you could see the other
them
one.
out. So you could have seen it where it was. Now cannot see it. No. So we have no idea what's going on. Not that we have any idea anyway, but not ideal when you've got radio broadcasters and then people trying to do their 500-word creative match report going, Why is the referee running up the pitch? It was like marking your own homework.
Yeah.
I've given a decision. I've just got to go up.
Yeah,
No,
I
got it
agree
wrong.
with myself. Yeah.
Yes. I need to change it. But no, we had no idea what was happening, but it was quite funny.
We've got to amuse ourselves somehow. I mean, that game could have been on BBC One because they weren't showing anything. I mean, in Scotland they showed the Scottish Cup final.
Was it on the red button?
I think it was only on the website or something.
It was supposed to be on
the red button, but it wasn't.
But they put the Scottish Cup final on.
Which is fair enough because that's the Scottish Cup final. But they could have just put on BBC One across the whole of the country rather than Escape to the Country. They've done Celebrity Escape to the Country now. I mean,
Well, it could be worse. It could be one of the nominees for the National TV Awards. of which they're... How can they be... I mean, I know this is slightly off topic.
No, it isn't, because Rob Burrows been nominated for it.
And I know you're a student of things like game shows, of which there is a category. But how can you have an awards structure where, we've all hopefully logged on to vote for Rob.
Yeah.
And you say, I'll have a look at some of the other categories because that means you're entitled to vote. I bypass most of them because I don't watch a lot of telly. You go, celebrity presenter or something, wasn't it? Or presenter. And you go...
TV presenter, 62 nominees.
Yeah, I'll just see who's on it. 62?
They randomise it every time because...
Why weren't we on?
At the top of the list now is Victoria Corrin Mitchell. Not a Nepo baby. Her brother is, but she's not.
I thought we're bound to be on if they've got 62.
No. Stephen Mulhern. All your favourites. Alison Hammond. You don't see her on TV much these days.
It's...
Helen Skelton. We're all voting for Helen. # Team Helen.
But I've never seen an awards nomination where there have been so many people on. It's like if you don't get on, you'll be ringing your agent going, "How come 63 people have been bought and I haven't?"
Awards are pointless. Welcome to all the people who now complain about that part of the programme.
Sorry.
What's this about voting for Rob, says Kevin? If you go to National TV Awards .com,
you've got till the 30th, I think. So there's only a couple of days
vote.
left.
I'll put the link in the chat and then you can vote. And you don't have to vote on anything else.
Is it author documentary?
Yeah, I'm going to put the link in there now, which takes you straight to the thing. Just click on the picture of Rob Burrow. You know what he looks like.
Vote for Rob. Yeah, I think you just have to put in your name and your email address. You don't even have to look at the other categories. Vote for Rob.
Fake email.
To be fair, at Castleford on the pitch, telling us to vote for Rob was Lindsay, Macy, and Mayer. So lovely, and we, as we've already said, Saturday's game against Wakefield devoted to remembering Rob a year on, which just seems ridiculous. So yeah, if you got a chance to vote.
Yeah. Put the link in the chat. So hopefully, it might not come up because I'm logged in under my own name and it might not let me put links in.
We'll put it on social media or something.
Yeah, we'll do it properly.
But yes, vote. National Television Awards.
Because it'd be good.
Vote for Rob.
And if you don't win, but if he does win, it's good. So that's the main thing. Kevin says Dowell Powell for England. Oh, no. That'd be rubbish.
That might work. That might work.
Can you do it part-time?
Play a nice style of rugby.
Do it part-time. Is Kais Fatili is English? We'll get him in the team. Because Steve Mills signed loads of people that you've never heard of from the Queensland Cup to play in the England team. Can you do that?
That was not a bad shout.
No. And Kevin, it won't come up because I realised that on YouTube chat, if you put in a link, it won't work unless I'm logged in as the channel, which I'm not logged in as myself. But we'll send it to you, Kevin. I'll sort it out in a bit. Mark says Kevin Walters has also been spoken to by the NRL. Maybe a wild card. Is this for the Perth job? He did a great job at Catalans. He's not coming back to Catalans.
Didn't do a great job at Brisbane the way it ended either. So I think his name has been promoted in the same way that Mal Meninga's has because he works for a certain media outlet.
No.
And I'm pretty sure that's how it works out.
I mean, how half these people have been linked with it anyway? Because no one from Perth has come out and said, yeah, we want Sam Burgess. It's like it'd be his agent or someone randomly in Australia. Same for Willie Peters and Bron Arthur.
I did enjoy the, was it 8-minute clip sent over from... was it a programme, was it NRL 360 of Phil Gould and Michael Shamas falling out over Canterbury signing of Lachlan Galvin, which again, if you haven't seen, you don't need to know who Lachlan Galvin
Well,
is.
because I see his name all the time, but I've no idea who he is.
He's a very, very talented halfback,
Oh,
but he's very young, and he's currently at West Tigers, and he should have been there next year, but he's been released because they heard he was going at the end of his contract anyway. And Phil Gould, who people will know and either like or not like with his style, is often factually correct. Well, apparently Galvin's destination is now Canterbury, and they were pulling Gould up for misleading, and he tried to mount a staunch defence, but came out second best.
This programme is never misleading.
It's a good watch if you like to see someone square.
I'm getting trolled on WhatsApp. This is no good. I've put the link in the chat now, Kevin, so you can see it. So for all the people listening on the podcast, you can't see it because obviously you're listening. But I'll put it in the show notes, as they say, if you're following us on Spotify or all of the other things. Do leave reviews because apparently it's good for the algorithm.
Is it?
I don't know what the
Do they
algorithm
have to be
is.
good reviews?
No, even if you put bad reviews. I mean, people are either going to listen or not listen. It's,
There's a lot of people who listen
who don't
to leave
like it.
bad reviews,
Yeah.
and you go like, well, why are you listening?
Don't listen to the programme. Now is that all the news? Have we done all the news? Has anything else happened this week? Ireland won the Celtic Cup. Did we mention that? Or did we?
No, because we previewed it.
We mentioned it before.
Ireland
we
won
came
the
on.
wheelchair Celtic Cup with two of their best ever performances. We spoke to Phil Roberts,
Yep.
who I think
That got lots of views on Facebook. So thanks for all, and thanks to everyone who downloaded that podcast because, again, it's something people don't, just out there. So, thanks for listening.
played really well. Still looking for his place in the 2026 Wheelchair World Cup. Clearly are building the talent pool. So when we spoke to him, he said, we've now got a domestic competition. 4 Irish counties represented in his team, which is great. Played really well in the final against Wales, having played the game before.
Yeah.
Wales, by virtue of being host, get first and third, so they don't have to play consecutively. I think they were looking to win the cup back. They've held it more than any of the other 2 nations, but didn't have enough firepower. So great performance from Ireland. We still think there is going to be wheelchair International Rugby League in Belfast in the autumn. So obviously Ireland will be involved.
Yeah.
We don't know anybody else. I think France might be.
I've never been to Northern Ireland. I've been to Ireland. I've been to the Republic of.
Well, Belfast is...
Spent a very expensive week in Dublin once, but never
not
been
that,
to
again,
Belfast.
I would recommend anybody to watch anything, but I came across Fred Siriex's bicycle tour of Belfast. Very good. It makes you want to go there.
There you go. So something when we know, we'll tell you. But it's
We
rugby
won't be
league.
the first to know, but we will tell you.
It's rugby league. We don't know anything. So well done, Ireland. If people watched the stream, it was good because they had the score on the screens. You could tell what was going on.
One complaint.
Yes.
Game 1.
Yes.
Wales
In green.
against Scotland in blue.
Blue. Yeah.
Couldn't tell them apart.
We're the most inclusive sport apart from if you're colourblind or just you've got bad eyesight.
But
just in general.
why do Wales, who are synonymous with the red, need to play in green?
Baseless speculation. I reckon they only had one set of shirts.
Right.
So they do because Wales and Ireland, Wales and Scotland and Ireland were playing 2 games in a row, weren't they?
Yes.
So they could just they couldn't go off and change the kit, but Wales. That's my assumption.
Anyway.
That's my assumption.
It was good. The coverage was good.
Could have breezed it.
The scoreboard on the coverage was good, unlike the wheelchair semi-final where you had to guess what the score was. Not easy. And clearly progress being made by Scotland, who were much more, particularly in the first game against Wales, great attacking style to them. Troubled Wales, but couldn't back up with a second game against the best team. So progress for Scotland. A little bit of work still to do for Wales before they play in the next World Cup. Ireland, congratulations to Phil and his crew. I don't know whether we knew or it was just told during the reporting, but Scotland will host next year's Celtic Cup.
I think if you'd listened to my interview with Helen Carron, you would have known that. Or that might have cut that bit off. I can't remember.
I'm not sure whether that's ever been announced, but it's in Scotland.
Abigail says there was a Hornets player in the Scotland squad. See, Rochdale are doing good things with the women in the wheelchairs and everything. It's great. It's good. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, Jodie Boyd was now on 44. So she's
was 46.
46, so she's 4 away
From a golden
cap. Controversial.
The highest capped wheelchair player in the world.
Yeah. She only played for 3 countries. I mean, you need to get some more. So 4 away. So she can't retire until she gets...
So she needs to go to the next World Cup.
Yeah.
To get to 50.
So, fingers crossed.
We like
her. I'm scared of her.
But yeah, clearly that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Women's Super League happened.
It did.
And the best game, surprisingly, was the game between 2 teams evenly matched. What a surprise. I mean, albeit, I listened to it on the radio, and then I've watched the highlights since, and it looked good. York 24, Leeds 16. 3 of York's tries, ex-Wakefield players. So, just wanted to point that out. 2 of them from...
I think 3 of them ex-Leeds players.
Well, yes, yeah. 2 of them from Papua New Guinea's Tara Moxon. So, again, just got to get the Papua New Guinea mentions in there. 24-16.
Sounded good on the radio. Thank you to BBC Radio
Yes.
York for covering it in full. Leeds was it ahead 16-14 with not too long to go?
Something like that, wasn't it?
Hold on. It sounded like a really good game.
Someone's wanting to ring me, but they didn't realise we're doing the podcast now. So now they've just realised. So that was a really good game, and York St Helens should be a good game on Sunday. I was tempted with going to York, but I'm going to Leeds on Saturday.
Again, it'd be interesting to see whether St Helens rest any players, because we're into that pre-Wembley scenario.
Yeah.
Do you risk the potential of a player failing an HIA or having a disciplinary issue and missing the final? So it will be interesting to see who plays for Saints, because I think there might be a couple they'd want to make sure are ready and available for Wembley. York, with the incentive of trying to beat the team that stopped them going to Wembley.
Faye Gaskin has missed the last couple of weeks, hasn't she? Because I think she failed the HIA against whoever it was the other week.
Was that York? Was
it in the semi-final? I can't remember. Everything's just merging into one at the minute. Lee 42, Warrington 6. Well done, Lee, for playing at their home ground. 1. And well done, Warrington, for doing the same as well the week before, because that's what you've got to do.
That's Lee
2 from 10.
undefeated, joint top of the league in their first season in the Super League.
I could see Amy Taylor playing for them on loan from St Helens as
Was
well.
she?
Yes.
Right.
And Wolves, Warrington had a couple of players on loan from Saints as well. So 42-6. You worry about Warrington because for a club of their size, this is why when we come on to Wigan Barrow, it's a different argument. But for a club of Warrington's size, you think the gap between those 2 clubs, especially Lee having been promoted last year, would be smaller, but it isn't, which is credit to Lee.
Yep.
Wigan 100.
Kieran Purtill.
Yep.
Good coach.
Doing a good job. Wigan 106, Barrow 6. Only if you followed the score going through, you knew this was going to happen very early on. Barrow obviously had lost some experienced players, but they're still well coached. Wigan.
The thing about Wigan at the moment is clearly they have an overabundance of people that want to play at Wembley. So everybody who has been trying to get into that 17, they know if they're given an opportunity that they've got to take it. So what was it, 19 tries or something?
Yeah, well, Easy Road kicked 15 out of 19. That's rubbish, isn't it?
Wow.
4 misses, that's terrible. And Wigan
Eva Hunter.
hat-trick.
My new favourite women's rugby league player.
And her sister Ruby both scored hat-tricks.
Right. Well, Eva's got the cherry hair.
And Derbyshire scored a hat-trick as well. Mention all these people who scored hat-tricks. Yes. He was the one
was
that's
magnificent in the semi-final.
Yeah. Wembley might be made for her. 106-6 on the face recently. But again, got to put these things into context. Also, they scored 100 points last year away at Huddersfield. They're the first team to score 100 points home and away in the competition, which I don't know if necessarily is a record we're supposed to celebrate.
They're building for Wembley.
They're quite good. They're quite good. It's not as if they've scored 100 points against someone who is they're expecting not to. I feel for Barrow because they're having to do it hard, but just the way the competition
Barrow
is.
are having to reinvent themselves, which again I think on the media day to launch the season, they said we're not looking at season 2 of us being in Super League because of the great turnaround of players we've had. This is season 1 over again.
It'd be interesting to see how they go against Warrington this week.
Yeah, that's
Because
more of a measure of where they are.
Huddersfield 0, St Helens 36. Similar line on that.
Although the first half was very little.
10-0, yeah.
Yeah, I think again Saints possibly conserving something for Wembley.
3 of their first 4 tries scored by forwards. And they had, I think Sutherland was sent to the sin bin as well in that game as well. So, but yeah, Huddersfield. So this week it's Leeds Wigan on Saturday at 2. So that'll be an interesting game.
Which is a curtain raise to the men's game.
We'll be there.
At Headingley.
We'll be there.
But again, you would think Leeds would want to try and put up a more convincing performance than they did against Wigan in the semi-final. Wigan preparing to be at Wembley. A, will they rest anybody? B, will they want to go out and make a statement going into Wembley? That'll be intriguing.
And then on Sunday, Huddersfield Lee. We should expect Lee. Hang on, Huddersfield playing Lee in the Men's Super League tomorrow. Why can't we work this out? I know that evening kickoffs are difficult because women have jobs and stuff.
Yeah, but also I think the 2 sets of fixtures are not issued at the same time. So,
but you could also you can align them somehow.
So is the Huddersfield Lee women's game at Halifax?
It's probably at that park, isn't it? 2 o'clock. Warrington Barrow at 1 o'clock. York St Helens at 12 o'clock on Sunday. It'd be nice if one of those was streamed, but I don't know if they will be.
You'd think somebody could stream the Leeds Wigan game, bearing in mind that cameras are going to be there anyway.
Be nice, wouldn't it? Be nice.
BBC and Sky doing the Leeds game.
Yeah.
So you'd think they could do the women's.
It's interesting the pull of the stroke of the BBC there, because for the last few weeks when they've been very low key coverage, I don't know how lower key you can get, but they're able to move kick-off times so they can sell gymnastics and stuff. Didn't know gymnastics was so popular because we're good at it now.
Niall Wilson.
Dennis, who sent us the flag. Thanks, Dennis. The standard of refereeing at the Championship could be described as best as poor. I've not seen any Championship rugby.
Not seen enough of it. No. Any particular game?
Well, I'm going to assume
you are referring.
I'm going to assume he's going to be referring to the London game, but they lost by 18 points, so I don't know. Dennis, tell us. Ian says Whitfield is emerging as a favourite. She scored again. She's like the Caius Fiatili of the Women's Super League. I think she's a great forward. Abigail says, I hate it when they're curtain raisers, as my mum moans about it, being loads dearer and won't take me. My mum moans about things all the time to me that I've done. So that won't change.
Come to Leeds on Saturday. Yeah. Watch 2 games.
Next time, she's coming. I think she's coming to Leeds for the Nines. Which did we mention? That was
West Park.
It's in the rugby league grounds around.
Paid for by Twickenham.
Is it easy to get to West Park?
It's easy to get there. It's at Bramhope, but
I mean, I'll go. I'll go. Is
there any value to the women's Nines?
I don't know.
Bearing in mind that Nines is now...
Depends if they ask me to do commentary this year. Then there is a value to it.
It's now the version of rugby league that nobody talks about.
No. I don't know that to come across as come and get me, please. If they ask me to do commentary, I'll do it. But if they don't, they don't. Because they asked last year. But unfortunately, they asked me on the day when it was in Hull. And through an intermediary, because no one would want me to offer directly. No. Where are we going? And Rugby Union Sevens is obsolete now. So that's
not going to be funded.
No. When are the NRLW teams going to sign Ilona Marr? When are they going to do that?
No, but NRLW have announced their Magic Round, haven't they?
Haven't they?
In Newcastle.
They love it, and it's Women's Origin in the morning. So Abigail, you can watch that if you're off school this week. You can watch it.
Yeah. You'll love it.
New South Wales and Queensland again.
Just need a little pack of biscuits. Perhaps
Oreo
chocolate brownies.
They'll be trying to make Ali Brinshaw cry again. I didn't think that was possible. Is it West Park Rugby Union or actual West Park in Wheatwood, says Abigail?
It's West Park Bramhope, which is the Rugby Union.
Don't go to the
Wheatwood is part of Leeds University.
We went to the wrong part of Wheatwood once. That was good.
Well, we didn't.
Well,
We had no other instruction.
League One was back after an absence.
A hiatus.
Keighley, though, is still not very good. They lost 30 points to 6 to North Wales. Although it was 6-6 at half time, so North Wales running away with things late on. Tries 61, 72, 74, 78. Not this week's bingo numbers. That's what we could use this screen for. We could sell it to
Lottery.
be like when TVAM
Have a meat raffle.
When TVAM, one for the teenagers, used to do the bingo numbers with Anne and Nick. Midlands 38, Whitehaven 8. Big win.
Another good result for the Hurricanes.
Rochdale 17, Newcastle 6. So that's pleasing for Abigail. And not a surprise because Newcastle are doing it tough. I think we should give them more credit because they're obviously being run very much on a shoestring, but they're turning up, they're fulfilling their fixtures, they're having a go. I don't mean to be patronising.
They're trying to blood a lot of young talent as well.
I don't want to be patronising, but they're at least, they're turning up every week. So
we need to decide as a sport if it's a valuable region and support it in some way.
So when we've got a 14-team Super League next year because Bradford, Toulouse, and London are in it, are we going to have the giant Northern Fold Premiership return?
We're going to have the Championship underneath it, which is regionalised into East and West.
Right. Oh, right, yeah, we talked about this before.
And no League One, because those teams will be incorporated into one of those regions.
Kevin's voted. Well done, Kevin.
Good man.
And Workington 24, goal 16, which sounds like it was a close game and exciting. Brett Ferris scoring. It's still going.
Still going.
North Wales top, 7 wins from 8. Workington and Midlands second and third, both with 13 points. Rochdale fourth on 10. Just above Swinton on points difference. Big points difference as well, 141 compared to 23. But I don't know if they've played Newcastle yet or not. So
yeah.
And of course it all changed after...
Cornwall had their records expunged.
Well, I tried, what category is it, please? Authored documentary, which I don't know what that means.
No.
I've got a media degree and everything. I've got an honours degree. I don't know what it means. I have to do media
I think
in
it's
context.
like an authorised biography if it was related to literature.
They never gave up all game and got their try near the end, says Abigail of Newcastle. So yeah, I'm trying not to sound patronising, but it does sound patronising because they're doing well, but they exist.
If they never gave up, that's all you can ever ask of your team.
Exactly. In front of a crowd of 669, one of only 2 attendances given in League One this weekend. They haven't given any in the Women's Super League, so we just have to guess. It sounded like there was a lot of people at York, but I don't know how close they all were to the Radio York commentary team. Which, if you've not heard the commentary, you can go onto the York YouTube channel and watch the highlights, and you can hear it back. But they just sound
Which is how we should do it.
Yeah. Where's the highlights of all the other games? I don't know. Maybe they are up and I just haven't seen them. Maybe I don't subscribe to all the other channels I should do. In the Championship, Widnes were winning at half-time, but lost to Bradford, 36-20. Well done to the Bulls.
6 in a row for the Bulls.
Bouncing back from there.
Joint top with Toulouse.
Wembley disappointment. Toulouse, who beat Barrow on the Saturday, 30 points to 12. But judging by
Again,
Paul...
quite late on, I think.
Yeah. Judging by the interview with the Barrow coach, they were quite...
yeah.
They were in it.
Yeah. And still in the top 4?
They are. No, they're 5th. Sorry. Just outside. Outside. Thanks to...
Which again, I think, full credit to Paul Creary.
Because again, they're a club that are on a budget. Above some clubs with bigger budgets. Doncaster 30, London 12. Dennis hasn't been back on yet, so I assume that...
London do need some... I mean, clearly we know that it's an 8 process between the Championship and League One. This is assuming that strategic review doesn't change it anyway. So London now do need to edge away from that bottom 4. Because you can have all the best plans in the world, but if you end up in...
Oh, the second bottom, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Featherstone 46, Batley 4.
Again,
warming up for Wembley and all
right
that.
sort of form going into Wembley.
James Glover, 2 tries on his debut.
I think Paul Cook's got them singing.
There's I've forgotten the name of the young lad, but on their social media this week they had a kid who's ill and his dad went down.
I saw that.
Great video.
Presented with a signed shirt.
if Paul Cook's at the 1895 Cup thing on Monday, I'll say to him, you don't need to do a team talk, do you? Because his dad spoke really well about what it means to go out there and play. Obviously, you've got to do the tactics and stuff, but it was a superb video. Well done, Fev. 46 points to 4 over Batley, who were struggling down at the bottom end of the minute. Oldham 34, Halifax 10. Has the bloom come off the Halifax rose is the question. Or are they just reverting to the mean and all that thing?
Or is this Oldham, who've been through a really tough spell, a lot of injuries, now finding their mojo again. Clearly they've signed Zane Musgrove, so they're still in the market to bolster their squad. Oldham and Halifax are clubs to watch at the moment because there's always something seems to be happening.
Have you ever seen
two colourful coaches?
Have you ever seen a more terse statement than Warrington's on the release of Zane Musgrove?
I think most people knew the circumstance behind it.
I mean,
fighting with a teammate, so you're not going to say, we're really going to miss you, mate.
No, I mean, the fascinating thing is, because all the people who are listening, they're all on social media, so they all hear various things, but I've been told that the story that's out there, which we can't say because we don't know, is not necessarily true. But
in this day and age?
I know.
Things that aren't true being peddled.
Especially when I spread it around work the other week about what happened. So that's not good, is it?
Not fake news, sure.
No. That means a grain of truth to all these things, isn't it? But still, it's got a job, so that's all that matters. LG, thank you. Archie, the name of the kid in the video. Thank you. Sheffield 18, Hunslet 22.
Great result for Hunslet.
Yeah, and
really
protests, people standing outside the ground, waving their banners.
It would
the
appear
cult of personality at Sheffield.
That the Mark Aston issue still has not been resolved to the satisfaction of the competing parties that seem to think there is different truth to be told.
Archie's the dad, Reggie's the kid. Thank you, LG. It was a great video anyway. We'll get there eventually. And I'll forget again when I speak to Paul on
but yeah, Sheffield under Craig Lingard needs some fun. I think they've got a fans forum coming up, which will be
they're always fun, aren't
interesting.
So, Toulouse top, Bradford, Halifax, Oldham, Barrow, York, Doncaster, Widnes, Featherstone in the middle bit, Sheffield, Batley, London, Hunslet. Why are there all these lines on them?
Because it's the eights, isn't it? So it's the bottom four that play the top four of League One in an eights form. But is that going to happen, or the strategic review going to?
Well, they can't bin it off halfway through the season. Well, that would be a very rugby
But they
league
can.
thing,
It's a very rugby league thing, isn't it?
Binning
I do
off
think the strategic review is going to be predominantly around structure of the RFL and how they want whether they want 14 teams and what that means.
What about the wheelchair game and the women's game and the community game? And they're not bothered about that.
Well, they might be bothered, but it won't be part of it.
No, they don't care. I'll just
You
say
said that.
I'll say that now.
I didn't
I'll say that now.
In
They
case,
don't care.
in case
They
Robert,
can't.
in case
anyone from
Robert
the
Hicks is
RFL,
listening, I didn't say that.
What are they going to do? Sue me? Do the middle teams do nothing? Asked LG. Well, that's what I was wondering. Like Featherstone and Doncaster and Widnes just finished. They're off their own competition.
That's what happened with the eights when it was Super League and Championship.
Remember the Championship Shield? What a great competition that was. I think Radio Yorkshire, the only people that brought you the both finals of that competition. I think I've got the commentary, so if you want to hear...
Who played? I can't remember who played.
Bradford won it against someone.
The trophy nobody wanted.
And then there was somebody...
The not quite winning anything trophy.
Did Keighley play Widnes in it one year? How many years did we have the eights?
I can't. I think there were at least 3, I think.
The Championship Shield goes down with the bottom 14 championship as great rugby league tournaments of our time.
What, the Captain Morgan trophy?
If you search... all right. Championship League Leader Shield is not what I want. I want the...
Nor the Champions League Shield winner.
Well, I'll have to look for that later. If anyone can find out, do let us know, because that's another completely pointless thing. I really should know these. People can go on the comments after the programme and say, he doesn't even know what's going on. The Championship Shield. He doesn't even know what's going on with the bottom end of the Championship. He doesn't know what's going on with these teams.
I can't remember it.
Well, LG doesn't know what's going on. He's a Fev fan, so they are a Fev fan. I don't know, but we're quite like, it's at the end of the season now, lads. Your Mad Mondays here. Doncaster Winners and Fev have to play off for a trophy. Just play each other in perpetuity. Wellens okay now. Saints are not in crisis anymore, lol, says Kevin. Well, they're not because they've won 2 in a row. As we move on to Super League.
Yeah. RFL Championship Shield. Results. Would have been that many. Not awarded due to Super 8s. Competition abandoned due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
LG doesn't know what's going on.
Toronto 52, Toulouse 47 in 2019. I don't remember.
No. Because there was a...
No, there's something...
There was a final at Widnes because we sent Matt Horton there to do it. And I
it's point. What? Oh, points. It's not at all. Right, I'm giving up on that. Well, you can't rely on Chat GTP.
No. Kevin, we don't know what's happened at Warrington. And we can't talk about what's happened at Warrington because we don't know. Because all we know is the statement that they put out. That's all we know. You would assume that all these journalists will know because they can dig into... They can ask Sam when he does his presser. Say, Sam, where's he gone?
Or why has he gone? We know where he's gone.
Oh yeah, he's got to hold them. They can they can ask him. League 12, Hull 26. Lee are 4th in the table after the weekend. Their fans are not happy apparently.
Are they
Well,
what are they not happy about?
I don't know.
Okay, they do have a couple of top line players who are not in their best of form at the moment. I'm not sure A, that's coaching issue.
No.
B, it's understandable because they're covering for quite a lot of injuries. You know, David Armstrong not playing, although I thought Bailey Hodgson was their best player. Obviously Armstrong gives them a different dimension. Obviously the Josh Charnley may not be here next year. Seems to have not gone down well with a lot of the Lee fans because he's a very popular figure over there. Pape cannot be the man of the match every single week. No. He was trying too hard. Lots of things didn't work for him in that game. But I don't think it's about Lee. I think that's about Hull bouncing back from, was it 4 defeats on the trot?
And 26-0 at half time. I know they obviously dropped off in the second, or whether that's due to the injury or...
I just think that was partly Lee finding their feet, but they had the resilience to see the game out. Just every chance that Hull created in the first half, they scored. They were really, really impressive. Lee, not so much in the first half, but no reason to criticise anything that Adrian Lamb might be doing.
As great as Josh Charnley's been over the years, he's 33.
There comes
the players
a point.
Can't go on forever. I know we spoke about Ryan Hall yesterday. He's going to play till he's 100, but...
There's also the issue of a salary cap. That again, normally the longer you're at somewhere, the older you become, the more money you're on, proportionately in the salary cap, there comes a point where you have to divvy that up against the young players who are coming through.
Maybe Hull will sign him, because that's what they did last year, signed all the league players. Right, Championship Shield.
Oh, good. Have we got the definitive?
Yes. 2015, they played the final at a neutral venue, and apparently 4,179 people went to Widnes to see Featherstone beat London 36-4. 2016, they decided we're not going to bother with this neutral venue. Bradford 27, Sheffield 16.
How many people?
3,518. So
it's waning.
Yeah. 2017, there's no crowds now. 2017, Toulouse beat Sheffield 44-14. And in 2018, so the winners in perpetuity, Featherstone Rovers, who beat Lee Centurions, whatever happened to them, 42-10 at Post Office Road.
So where's the trophy?
I assume it's at Fev.
That's what you need to ask
Paul
Cook on Monday.
Have
you come across that cupboard that has in it the Championship League Leaders
Shield.
Trophy, Shield, Cup?
You don't get this on other podcasts.
Probably.
Wasn't that the Northern Rail Cup?
No.
No, the Northern Rail Cup was something separate because we ruined that by having a final in Blackpool, which was great, and then one year said
9,000 people.
Yeah, and then one year said no, we're playing Halifax now. Yeah. A venue we already got to,
which is not a great supporters' day.
No. I mean, it could have got a Eureka.
No disrespect to Halifax. There are,
no,
some great things in Halifax.
Yeah. There's probably more great things in Halifax than Blackpool.
The Peace Hall.
You
get some great dolly mixtures in
Eureka, but it's not Blackpool. Where did Musgrove come from? Never heard of him before Warrington. Kevin says, another overseas quota player for Warrington that's failed. How many more until something changes at Wire? Something might change at Wire, but it's probably not the thing you want to change. Well, what's it? Dan Russell scored a try on Friday, and he's one of these overseas players you've never heard of. No one likes.
They need a Chris Chester type figure, don't they?
Maybe Lee needed Chris Chester type figure. Chris Chester's now he's now a man in demand. He was funny watching the game, and he's just sat there next to like he was sat next to Adrian Lamb. He's sat there next to Danny Maguire and all the other people.
He's now wearing a T-shirt that says Castleford on it. Not a polo shirt.
So anyway, someone next to the Leeds bench who shouldn't have been there or just looked out of place, I can't remember. Usually because they're next to a journalist, aren't they? So usually like Ross Heppenstall will be next to the away coach.
Saying I think a substitution now wouldn't do you any harm.
He's not part of their squad. I'm still allowed at Cass after I broke a chair. So that was Lee and Hull.
Which actually was the most competitive game of the entire round.
It's the only one I got wrong on the tipping, which proves that point. I'm second in the table still.
But I do think Hull deserve a huge amount of credit.
Yeah, they're doing really well. I know they're just outside the 6 at the minute, but again, the table's completely...
Turning around that, we went through a period where, we were just missing out to going to an away game where you're not expected to win and performing ridiculously well in the first half. Although they now, Johnny asked, have we had the prognosis of how long John Asiata's going to be out?
I've not heard anything.
No, it looked quite serious.
Followed on Friday by Warrington 12, Hull KR 31 in the exciting preview of the cup final, which wasn't anything of the sort. Hull KR never really looking in much trouble. I have to say I was watching this not work, so I wasn't paying full attention. But
they were very much held Warrington at arm's length.
We've learned nothing from that. The cup final,
and the
we'll see next week.
Ollie Leyland was given an opportunity and unfortunately went off injured early on. Too many. I don't know. Too many players may be thinking that because they're not going to have a full squad to choose from at Wembley because of injuries. Although they are hoping George Williams will be back, which no doubt we'll preview next week. I think there are some. Psychologically, it seemed that some of the Warrington players were thinking more about a game to come rather than the one that they were in. Hull KR did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Didn't need to do a lot more.
Mikey Lewis. He likes giving all that and all that kind of thing. When it comes down to the Ashes, Sean Wayne's going to pick Harry Smith and George Williams if they're both fit, aren't they? Because he knows what they'll do.
Unless Mikey Lewis is the man of the match in the Challenge Cup final, the man of the match in the Grand Final, then you won't be able to. He's now got to produce what he can do in the biggest of games.
Because he might be the best player in the competition. That's
yeah.
But that's different to being.
Yeah, the man of steel says something about consistency.
So when he doesn't get picked for the first test, and everyone goes, "Why is he not picked him for the first test?"
But he needs to be the dominant force in the biggest of games, which as yet he hasn't been.
Challenge Cup will be 40 plus, says LG. Are you saying I should just stay in the tunnel and interview all the players after the women's final?
40 plus to who?
I know. And then come back up and still vote for the Lansdowne Trophy. I've not seen it. Also on Friday, neither of us watched Huddersfield for St Helens 46, which is disappointing for Huddersfield. For St Helens, that they conceded 4 points. But
what struck me watching the tries, because again I was watching Warrington Hull KR, was all of a sudden St Helens seemed to have the right balance in their team. So funnily enough, Jack Wellsby at fullback, where he can create such an influence over a game, gets a hat-trick of tries. Tristan Saylor, who's struggled a little bit to find his niche in the team, 2 tries on the wing, both great finishes. Lomax and Whitby again, his kicking was excellent. It sort of works. Percival now being talked about as, if he can keep fit over a long period of time, could be in contention for England at the end of the year.
Wales is Mark Percival. Oh no, I'm mixing up with Morgan Knowles, aren't I? I get them two mixed up all the time, and I don't know why, because they don't look the same.
The Mark Percival who Wayne Bennett was never going to pick for England, Sean Wayne might. But no, I think that we've seen 2 impressive performances by St Helens on consecutive weeks against teams that are struggling. which is not to detract in any way from the way Saints are playing. It's a great way to get your confidence back, to score 86 points and concede only one try. But we know that Catalan are struggling. We know that Huddersfield can't put anything like a run together. So jury out, Hull KR this week. That'll be more of a test of where St Helens are.
I'm going down to...
But Paul Wellens hasn't gone from being abject to brilliant. No. He's a good guy. He's doing the best he can with the resources he's got available. When he's got most of his top line players out there, they're a top 16, possibly a top 14.
Good news for Saints, as pointed out by Ian. They play Salford twice next month or something. So unless they get kicked out and they're expunged.
They won't be kicked out or expunged, but we don't know whether it's going to be the Salford that went to Wakefield this week or a Salford that has a more secure future and is able to put out a team whereby they're not introduced to each other at half time because they're all either loan players or was it number 51 played for Salford this week at Wakefield? It's like you cannot have any run of form with that.
Leeds St Helens Grand Final, you heard it here last. Get down to
Leeds St Helens. The Grand Final everybody wants.
Get down to the sponsors. Castleford 6, Leeds 29. Sam Lissoni's the best on earth apparently, and he scored 2 tries. As did Harry Newman, who was really wound up against Hull the other week, which was funny. I forgot to mention that last week. And Ryan Hall scored a try as well.
The Leeds bench was fantastic. They again understood what Danny Maguire said about how proud he was of the effort that his team put in, but even he will recognise that is of limited value if the team that you've got isn't quite as good as the team that you're playing. Really interesting game for Leeds this week because they're going back to round 1 where they lost at home to Wakefield, but they're in third, and you know we're approaching the halfway point of the season. It's been a while since Leeds were third at the halfway point. There is something, but I think it's 5 out of 6 that they've won. The defence is incredibly miserly. The bench was in really good form. It wasn't just Lissoni coming off the bench. Everyone who came off the bench made a real impact. James Bentley will play this week. He was rested. Andy Ackers is due back. So I think, Leeds are one of those very fortunate squads at the moment that have got riches to pick from. The other thing that, again, and you're going to say, it's because it's Leeds. Stop going on about it.
Leeds in crisis, yeah.
Leeds reserves last week, which did include
was this the game against Wigan?
Yeah, Jack Sinfield, Matt Frawley. Went to Wigan, and I know we're talking about reserves, but won by 60 points. Wigan don't lose at home by 60 points at any level. Again, this is competition for places. Everybody's fit. They want an opportunity.
Should I leave after the women's game just to avoid embarrassment?
No, I think it'd be a great game. But there is clearly Brad Arthur's right when he says, they haven't put together a perfect performance yet, but they're certainly building something. Lockie Miller 316 metres running, and at Castleford that's actually probably only 250 metres. But no, anybody who gets over 300 metres in a game, that's a phenomenal performance.
It's like it took him a year to perhaps assimilate, and now he's assimilated, and he knows what he's doing, and he's got a role, and he's good rugby player.
Yeah.
Ryan Carter Catalans SLG. Where's that come from? Where's that from? Have you made that up? Can we claim that as
Ryan
news?
Carr's a name that was really, really popular at one point and very much admired. I think did he go to Parramatta as an assistant? Highly respected at Featherstone for the job he did there. Became an assistant at Leeds while he was also at Featherstone, and then sort of went back to the NRL. And last I'd heard of him, he was on the Parramatta staff. He might have moved. Again, that's interesting.
LG, tell us where you've heard that from. Is it ChatGPT? Have you heard it from there? Brad Arthur's doing a great job, says Kevin. He is. That's why they're third in the table.
But the decision is coming both for the club and Brad Arthur. If he isn't going to be offered the Perth job, what does he do next year? Does he go home because he's watching his sons play, but to unemployment, or does he say no? I'll give Leeds another year because I'm getting a tune out of the team.
Surely Penrith don't need a new coach eventually. They're still rubbish. It's come from another journalist, so there you go. Well, they're journalists. We're not journalists, let me say. Brad Arthur, NRL, there's going to be something else I was going to say about who makes the decision on the next coach. And is it Jamie Jones Buchanan or the sporting director?
Ian Blease, I think, will recommend it to the board,
and then they'll.
But I think it's his remit to come up with the name.
JJB's in charge of all the other stuff like.
Well, he's on
sales and
he's on the board, so he would have an input in the decision. But he won't be recommending, I don't think, who takes over.
Trent Robinson recommended him to be French assistant last year, Cowes at St George. When it said the Dragons were interesting in Sean Wayne, I thought, St George Illawarra. Confused me for a minute. Catalan Dragons are rubbish. 48-0 against Wigan. I turned off at half time because it was just pointless. And watched Arsenal win the Women's Champions League instead. There's nothing you can say. Wigan, they're second in the table. They're 2 points behind Hull KR. They're the only team that beat them this year. They're still. If the grand final was tomorrow and it was Hull KR versus Wigan, I'd still be back in Wigan.
They were incredibly professional. I think they went out early and made sure that they had a real spirit and togetherness about them. They did suffer a couple of injuries. I think Sam Walters is out for 3 months, fractured his leg, and Luke Thompson went off as well. But without having to again hit their best form, they were just far too good for the Dragons.
And as we said about an hour ago, recruitment.
A huge worry for the Dragons would be, yes, they've played St Helens and yes, they've played Wigan in the last 2 weeks, but they've not scored a point.
No. And that was a Saints side who were coming off the back of all these, all this chat about the coach and everything. And they destroyed them. You expect Wigan to win, obviously.
They were really good, really, really good. But again, scored early, and you could almost sense, even though we were watching it on the telly, the deflation around the ground for the players and the Catalan fans. And Wigan just got on with the job, as Wigan do. Scored some lovely tries. Adam Kieran looked excellent, and then hinted that he might not be there next year because he's out of contract. I think he's been a brilliant sign. I'd be surprised if they, unless he was offered a huge amount of money elsewhere, that they wouldn't try and keep him. Brad O'Neill's back. That's making a difference. I mean, Cruz Leeming can make a big impact off the bench. They just look a very well balanced, well coached team that clearly all know each other's style of play and are relentless.
Andy says Wigan lost by 40 against Wire last season. I've completely forgotten about that. But they did win all the trophies in the end. So
I think they did, yeah.
I'm going to watch that documentary just to make sure they did, but that's a bit of a problem, that. Wakefield 72, Salford 10. Bit disappointing this because it equals Wakefield's record win in Super League, which was against Hull a few years ago, which was hilarious because Hull
was supposed to be good.
Yeah, whereas Salford are crap, aren't they? So it's no difference. But they've still got Nelly McDonald and Ryan Briley and some good players, and then people you've never heard of. Johnny Vaughan off the radio, he scored a try as well. So
I mean, they do look exactly what you would expect them to be at the moment. Lacking in leadership on the field, lacking in knowing what the future holds for them off the field. But you can't take anything away from Wakefield, who, when they started to get on top, played some fantastic rugby.
Well, we were talking about this in the week on...
Just entertain it. You don't need to follow that team to say, I want to see Wakefield's next game because I enjoy the way they play.
We were talking about the handicap, and you think, well, where's it going to be? And I think I tipped Wakefield by 48 because I thought they should score more, but do I trust them to kill off Salford? Because they didn't necessarily do that last year in the Championship, and there was a bigger gap between, well, maybe there wasn't a bigger gap between Wakefield and some of the teams in the Championship last year as there was between Wakefield this year and Salford now. But they did, and they've got to be ruthless. That's why Wigan scoring 106 points against Barrow. Absolutely. They're ruthless. You've got to just...
They've got one or two players missing, but again, it's a competition for places. Kais Fatili is almost saying, you need to start me.
Yeah.
Because my form's so good. I don't just want to be an impact player off the bench. He is becoming a cult figure in the same way.
It's always a bad thing that happens.
Well, people might, focus on him. I thought Max Jowett was great. I love watching him play. Just too good.
We need to find another nationality for Max Jowett to play for, because he's not going to get in the England team, obviously, but he should get some recognition somehow. 2 tries from Ellis Lingard. I think it was his debut.
On his debut, yeah. Which is lovely that in the midst of a great performance like that, there were two debutants, weren't they? But Lingard didn't look out of place. It'd be very interesting to see if he plays again this week. But you can't do a lot more than score 2 tries on your debut.
It's the perfect time to blood players, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's exactly when you should do it.
Yeah.
What's the dot called, says LG? We are Wigan Warriors. It must have been up all night coming up with that idea for the name. Not Wigan, we are racing. So we are Wigan Warriors. It's on the Sky.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on Sky anyway. It's on the red. If you search for it on your Sky box or wherever you watch your TV programs.
I think they're making one for this year as well.
Are they? I think they did it right by. I think the problem with these club ones, and it's great that they're doing them, is because they're doing them week by week or month by month. You don't know how you can't control how the story's going to go.
No.
When they filmed the whole of last year at Wigan, they can pick out where the story goes because they know at the end where it is. But
I do think a bit like the success of the Wrexham type documentaries. If there's either got to be heartbreak or joy at the end. It can't be sort of like meh.
Mediocrity.
Yeah.
Like Leeds's.
Yeah.
I watched the first one. I don't watch anymore.
Nothing happened. There were a couple of big events during the year that were brilliantly focused upon. Sadly, Rob's tragic passing, and then obviously the change of a coach. But there was nothing at the end of the season. It's like they're all sat in the dressing room after they've been beaten at Hull KR going, well, to those of you who are going by, to everybody else, have a lovely holiday. It's like, we wouldn't have ended it that way if we could have helped.
Well, at least they won the wheelchair grand final, so that's good. But I've not watched it, so. Do make sure you go onto our Twitter and click the link retweeted earlier of an interview with a player on BBC Guernsey. Because then BBC Guernsey might do more rugby league. Because our friend Danny Parkinson, who we love we're so proud of.
We are.
As all the people from Radio Yorkshire who've gone on to bigger and better things.
One of the nicest guys.
Yeah, we love Danny, so it's great to see him get some rugby league on BBC Radio Guernsey, where I don't know if rugby league really exists there. Now, could they be members of the European Federation? Because are they a separate country? It's like a weird thing because they're in the Commonwealth Games. I don't know. Jersey and Guernsey can be island of origin.
Channel Island of origin.
Yeah. I know we're thinking
Jersey against Guernsey.
A long,
Santa Helena against
all the other ones. Alderney, Sark. The ones that have just got penguins living. Oh, that's the Falklands. They're not in it yet. When the Pac-Man goes off the screen, being chased by the coloured baddies, we need to see the baddies blue being chased by the Pac-Man, says Andy. I've only just worked out how to use this thing. We've had complaints about the LED board.
Not complaints. Somebody said it was confusing.
So, I mean, it is.
Because they don't really understand what's come up.
It's just here. It's like we've got a North Korean flag.
Well, we've got extra points, haven't we?
Yeah. It's got stuff. If you've got any secret messages you want to put on the board,
coded messages.
The problem, we're going to be like a number station giving instruction to spies. But unfortunately, in Guernsey. But all I can do, like if you've got a 6-letter phrase, oh no, hang on. I'll show you because I can change it, and then I'll go through the fixtures. Because I've worked out you can put 4020 on and it fits. If we could actually find the app for the thing. Here it is. But I can't put much else on there. Oh, it's not letting me do it now. Oh, I might have lost connection. So
that was pattern.
Oh, here it is. Right, it's going to change that. It's going to say for 40.
It does.
This week's fixtures are... This week's fixtures, Huddersfield versus Lee tomorrow at 8. Why is that one of the main Sky games this weekend? Why have they done that? What's Jenna going to say in the news? Somehow we filled an hour and 20 minutes. We might have gone off the air now on rugbyleague.com because we've got to...
I've not heard what's coming on. I just looked to see...
Steps. Huddersfield Lee at 8.
Highway to hell.
That's not at the same time as the darts, so people are going to think...
Was it the final of
the darts
Premier League?
Yeah, it's finished.
Is that 0-2?
I think so, yeah. Friday, it is the John Wilkin derby, Hull KR versus St Helens.
Which is a really interesting test for both, because clearly Saints will want to continue their good form of the last 2 weeks. Will Hull KR... I know they've named a strong squad. I wouldn't play Dean Hadley. If there's a slight disciplinary chance that he wouldn't play at Wembley, why would you? I wouldn't necessarily play Mikey Lewis, because of the HIA rules that, fails an HIA, can't play at Wembley. I think you do have to be judicious the week before Wembley as to wrapping some of the players that you think can win you the Challenge Cup final in a little bit of cotton wool. I play Alpha Moore because he's cup.
Yeah. Also on Friday, I think it's the Logan Tompkins derby, Salford versus Wigan. I think he played for both. I think he did.
Is that on Friday?
That's on Friday at 8, which no one's going to watch, Ali, because they're going to watch Hull Chaos St Helens.
I think we're hoping that nobody does watch it.
No.
Because if they lost by 70 to Wakefield,
yeah,
what might Wigan do?
They're saying Wigan are better than Wakefield.
Well,
I mean, the league table doesn't lie.
It is at Wigan. As well.
Wigan champions, Wakefield not champions since 1968. So there's a bit of a difference.
Unless Salford do get paid tomorrow, and
Yeah.
everything is sweetness and light down at the community stadium.
Let's see if Saints can beat a top team, said Kevin. Saints are going to be back in crisis. Yeah, but they've got a week off, so there'll be no crises next week.
I think they're all right.
White and Castleford, the Dowell Powell derby on Friday night.
Again,
the Ollie Holmes derby.
Warrington, even more than Cass, need to keep their best players ready for the following week because their season is going to be determined by that 80 minutes at Wembley. So don't play Matt Duffy if there's any.
Also, Catalans versus Hull on Saturday.
Massive for Catalan.
At 5:30.
Massive for Catalan. We know
the Richie Myler derby.
We know about of course. Yeah. We know about Hull, and we know that they are going to be there or thereabouts come the playoff places at the end of the season because of what John Cartwright has built ahead of all expectation. There has to be a response from Catalan to what's happened in the last 2 weeks or their season. I reckon if they lose this week and we're approaching the halfway point, Catalan's season's all but finished.
Is it still Steve McNamara's fault? Is he still the head coach? Has he got his coaching record? When will he be sacked?
Is it the Steve McNamara derby?
It could be.
Is he going to carry the ball onto the field?
And Leeds Wakefield, 4:30 on the BBC. BBC Two.
Which actually, I know clearly we have a vested interest from each side. That's the game of the weekend.
Especially after week one. History, Rob Burrow, everything. Our Wakefield pretenders, our Leeds pretenders or contenders. Because there's only 2 points between them. I don't know. Should be good.
It should be great because and again
the way both teams play.
They both play. That neither are frightened to move the ball if they feel there's an opportunity to do so. So really looking forward to that.
No, Kevin, if Wakefield won Super League, I'm not going to present the programme naked like Gary Lineker because he gets paid loads of money. Well, he got paid loads of money by the BBC and I don't. No, and we're not going to win Super League. Come on. I mean, Matt Ellis might be the Messiah, but he can't do miracles.
If Wakefield made the 6, that would be an astonishing achievement.
Just as long as if the ball goes anywhere near the in-goal area, Max Jarrett boots it right now on the stadium because he's not Scott Griggs. Never going to forget that. Never.
So that's see Scott Griggs on Saturday.
I know, yeah. Well, I hope not. Hopefully not. That's it. That's this week's programme. Again,
I'll have a look if he sent what song it. No. I'm going with Billy Joel, the Piano Man.
Does he play that on there? Does he play Billy Joel? Is he classic rock? What is he? I like Billy Joel. Is my internet playing up, says Andy? Possibly. Right, that's it. We're done. We'll be back on Monday.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm going to be fresh from the Challenge Cup final press conference.
You're here. You're on the doorstep. So let's do Monday.
Shall I ask Sam Burgess a question at the top table? Because no one asked. It might be the only chance of asking Sam Burgess a question. If you've got any ideas of what I should ask Sam Burgess,
what happened with Zane Musgrove?
Send them in. Facebook, Twitter, formerly known as X, Blue Sky, whatever. And I'll decide to ignore them all because they'll all be ones that'll get me chinned. But we'll see you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the week. Rugby League is back tomorrow. Why is it here so soon? Adios.